Okay, so this is my 96 Dakota project. Basically doing this video for my brother-in-law Troy, who requested to see this stuff because we're about 1,000 miles apart. So I've done just a little bit before this video because I haven't really taken any video so far. But I actually had the cab all the way off the frame, and I replaced the cab bushings, put the polyurethane, I think they're energy suspension or something, polyurethane bushings in there. I took the frame down to bare metal with a wire wheel and painted it this I call it battleship gray, like the Mopar color, but it's like a Rust-Oleum. I first did the rust reformer on it so it wouldn't flash rust, and I let that sit about a week, kind of used it as a primer, and then I painted it with this Rust-Oleum. I think it's smoke gray or something, but it's a gloss, so it looks kind of cool. Nice glossy frame. I didn't go 100% because, you know, there's things I'm gonna have to fab on this frame. This crosser 8 1/4 is coming out, and I've got a 8.8 out of a Mustang, and I'm gonna fab all that stuff in there. Hopefully I can do the whole coil spring, or the coil spring suspension, like out of a Mustang. I'm gonna go to a U-Pull-It yard and just tear the whole rear end suspension out of a Mustang of the same generation as my rear end, and who knows, I've never done all this stuff, so we'll just see how it happens. But hopefully I can make brackets and do all that stuff to get coil spring rear end with that 8.8, and my plan is to put a posi unit in it, better than, you know, what it's got stock. I want to put like an Auburn gear or something in it. So today was the cutting out of the firewall. I don't have my headers just yet. I was trying to use these shorty truck headers, but they're just not going to work, and they're not as good of a header as I want anyway. So just kind of mocking it up over the past couple of days, and then the Lakewood QuickTime bell housing kind of protrudes a little bit where the starter mounts, so I had to cut the firewall out basically for that, but also to get the motor back far enough to get away from everything up front. You see where the distributor's at, it's up underneath there. So I'm not exactly sure the height of the engine when I do build my motor mounts, because see, here's the ears on the block, and then here's the pad that it's going to have to come from. So who knows what that's going to look like, and then header clearances and all that stuff. So we'll see it. The headers that are coming are long tube headers, so they're going to snake down through there, and I'm not sure what angle and how they're going to miss the steering shaft and all that stuff. So this is just basically playing around, mocking up, and I just cut a big old hole in the firewall, and I'll just play with it and fab one back in there as I go. This is going to have plenty of room because this is obviously the center of the core support right here, but plenty of room if I wanted to run a mechanical fan for the radiator. I would love to be able to rear mount a radiator back in the bed area. I think that would be cool, but we'll see how it turns out. Anyway, plenty of room, and what would be cool is if I can maintain this spot. You see the center line of the axle is about here, and it's right about the center line of the engine, maybe a little ahead of it. So technically I could end up with a mid-engine truck, but either way, more weight towards the rear is better. Maybe put a cage in it at some point. My windshield's cracked because Candace just reminded me that 2 years ago in May is when that huge limb fell while this truck was parked in the yard, and just smashed the windshield, smashed the top up here. I've done a little bit of backyard body work. It's not done yet, but it'll never be perfect. But I had to do a lot of beating to get to this point. It was caved down in there probably when I took a picture of my hand like this, and I think it was up to about here when it was level with the roof. This much of my finger was down into the dent, so it was dented pretty bad, and I had to do a lot of destructive work. You see the up in here's pulled away, and so I got to get all that right again. But if I'm going to put a cage in it, then no harm, no foul. I'm gonna have to do something with the trans tunnel because the shifter for this T5 tranny is about right here. So I'll have to, once I get that figured out, I think I'm gonna make a removable trans tunnel, and that way, you see, if I fab a bell housing, this is about 2 inches right here. So there's no way I could get these bell housing bolts out and just pull the engine or just pull the tranny. So I'm gonna have to make one piece removable, and it's more sensible to make the trans tunnel removable. And that way I can pull just the tranny out if I want to, or just the motor. So I threw my steering column back in here today and my pedals, because I've been just fretting about what's the pedal arrangement going to be. And of course I'm going to put some kind of bucket seat back in here, whether it be a sport stock bucket seat with good bolsters, or maybe just buy like a mid-range race seat or something. But been trying to figure out pedals, been looking at Willwood pedals and Tilton pedals, and just trying to figure it all out. But that's part of the fun. So that's about it for now. Gotta wait on those headers to come in and go to the next step. So it's been fun so far, and more to come.